Hello students, Mr. Sims here. Day 8 of Module 2. Orders of operations with rational numbers starting on page 67. The objective of today's lesson is I can find the value of a rational expression using the correct orders of operations. So first thing you probably do is hit pause so you can copy that down, and then we'll continue on. Alright, so first opening example is reviewing the orders of operations. You know this as PEMDAS, which we kind of briefly went over yesterday in Fast and Furious class. Right? So the correct order, and this is what we use to help us remember. Right? First step in orders of operations, we have to do anything that's inside of grouping symbols first. Right? Now the P stands for parentheses, so parentheses are clearly anything that's inside parentheses that gets done first. But other forms of grouping symbols would be brackets. Okay. Also, absolute value. I showed you that briefly yesterday as well. And then the other one that's not really well known is of the fraction bar. If you have something on a fraction bar or underneath a fraction bar, that would get done before you actually divide. All right, next comes exponents. Well, we don't do much exponents here in 7th grade, so we'll just kind of skip over that one. Then you have multiply and divide. Now here's the thing about multiplying and dividing. It's from left to right. So sometimes in PEMDAS you'll see an arrow. So what that means is that you don't always have to multiply before you divide. It depends on what comes first. All right, so if dividing comes first, then you do dividing first. So you just work from left to right. All right, same thing with adding and subtracting, which we like to call combining. That is also done from left to right. Right. So in our first example here is just a couple of examples using integers and how this works, because rational expressions are when we throw fractions and decimals. Right. So the first part of this really is just going to be working with fractions. All right. Now we've talked about the calculator and about how you could use the calculator to help you do the math. Right. But I want to talk to you about part of what this lesson is going to be is how to use the calculator and how to show your work with the calculator. Because yes, you could plug this entire problem in your calculator and get the correct answer. But you have to be able to show your work. So this is how you show your work if you were going to. I want to see the steps that you're taking. So first thing is you have an operation inside parentheses. So I would do 10 minus 5 first. Really shouldn't need a calculator for that. Okay. Combine a positive 10 with a negative 5. It's equal to a negative 5. And then you have a negative 5 times a negative 4 equals positive 20. Remember, a negative times a negative is a positive. Over here on the right side, okay, once again, we got parentheses. So the parentheses would happen first. Okay. Minus 12, negative 12, and negative 14. I borrow 12, I borrow 14 more. I owe 26. Divided by 2 equals negative 13. Remember, negative divided by positive is equal to a negative. All right. This one is one that I've done over the years, and you really have to be careful of. Because the favorite mistake that students make is, oh, you work from left to right. Well, here, we did the left operation first. This one, too. It was a coincidence. For this one, here are the parentheses. We have to do that first. So it's 80 minus 4. 5 minus 7 is negative 2. All right, next. Okay, this is technically, it's a negative, but it is fall under the subtraction category. Right? This is multiplication. Now, when we multiply this, that negative sign goes with the 4. Okay, so this is 80 plus 8, because you have negative 4 times negative 2. So here we get 88. Right. And then finally, last one. Here's that fraction bar I was talking about. So we take 12 minus 30, negative 18, over negative 6, and a negative divided by negative is a positive. Right. So that's how it works with integers. And you notice I went through all these and I didn't use a calculator. All right, so moving on to example number 2. So we're going to have example number 2, and then there's going to be an exercise that's going to act as the checkpoint. All right, so now we're going to look at evaluating expressions that have fractions. So this is where the calculator is going to come into play. All right. The biggest suggestion that I can give you is do it in parts, in pieces. So in A, here's what I'm talking about. You got parentheses, division, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do negative 1/4 minus 1/2. So negative 1 ABC4 minus 1 ABC2. And I'm going to write this down, negative 3/4. This is how I'm going to want you to show your work. Divided by negative 4/7. Now what's nice about the calculator, we'll get it back in focus here. What's nice about the calculator is that you don't have to you already have the negative 3/4 there. So now we just hit the divided sign and you get this A and S, which just takes your previous answer. Negative 4 ABC7. And we get positive 1 5/16. All right, so that's what I want to see. I want to see the steps as you move forward. All right, let's look at another one. Here's another one very similar, but this one and this one are really the same. I don't know why all of a sudden this is having an issue remaining focused. But these two are the same. All right, so first one first, 3ABC, clear. 3ABC8 minus 1 ABC4, it equals, I want to see this. Don't try to punch this whole thing in the calculator, because the more you have to punch in, the better there's a chance you're going to make a mistake along the ways. And all you do is hit one wrong button and your answer is completely wrong. So we got 1/8. Now we divide it by, and once again, I don't have to retype it in. Negative 5 ABC6, and we get negative 3/20. Right. And then the last one, for this one, first thing, okay, is doing the division first. Okay. Here this was a grouping symbol, this was a grouping symbol, so it falls under the parentheses. Okay, for this one, 1/4, 1 ABC4 divided by negative 3 ABC8, and we get negative 2/3. Okay, now one of the things too is anything that you can do that doesn't involve the calculator is only going to help you in the long run, because the more buttons you have to push, the better there's a chance you're going to hit a wrong one. So one of the things we talked about at the very beginning of this module about how if you see this plus minus thing, it's really the same thing as minus. Right? So, or, I mean, obviously you could go plus parentheses negative 2 ABC3. Okay? And we get negative 1 1/3. Okay? So, purpose of the lesson is obviously you're using the calculator to do the fraction work. Right? Unless you want to try to do that, I mean, I would challenge you to try to do these by hand. But the bottom line is showing your work. This is what I want to see when you're using your calculator. It isn't just about putting all the work in the calculator. All right, for our checkpoint for today, for this lesson, we have exercise 2 on page 69. Okay? And there is a challenging problem down there at the bottom. So, all right, so you work through this, you check in, and then we move on from there. All right, for recorded lessons, this is Mr. Sims signing off.